Hi, welcome to my channel, Joan Pauly Real Estate, all things real estate. Today we're going to be talking about two new construction homes that I'm going to be offering, and they are quite different than your normal stick-built new construction home, and that's definitely intentional. We're going to go through what it looks like in terms of a rendering, and then we're going to go through the floor plan, so see if that fits your lifestyle and your family. And also we'll talk about the land, where it's located, and then we're gonna do what's not normally covered in new construction home promotions, and that's we're gonna talk about the second half of the story, or what I call the peek behind the curtain, to why this home is constructed using technology and using a technique that is going to give you far more energy efficiency, healthier indoor air, and is resilient to storms. So stick with me. I'm going to start off with what it looks like in a rendering, because they're not built yet. And then we'll look at the floor plan, and if you're still with me, we'll look at the land and then all of the special secret sauce that goes in behind it. So stay with me for as little or as long as you want, and let's get going. The fundamental question is, will this fit your lifestyle? So let's get the rendering up and we can talk through it. Just so you know, this is just it's not gonna be the color of the house if you don't want this color. So anyway, again, this is new construction, and we would not put anything in the ground until we work with you to, based on the budget, be able to customize your colors and your finishes. So this is just a color that my builder and I chose to show what it could look like. So it's got a beautiful, welcoming front porch. I call it a real front porch. It's not one of those fake ones where you can barely sit out there or you have to stand out there. You can sit down, you can talk to your friends, neighbors, family. It's a real front porch. And then you walk in, and we've got our open concept into the first floor. So you walk in and you've got your living and dining area that flows into the kitchen island space. So it's all really, what a lot of people like, which I like, which is the open floor plan. And then you can see there is a half bath here. Walk around the corner and through the kitchen, and that's where the first floor laundry is. Then you look at the garage here. Now the plans just show one car garage, but we're upgrading it to 2 cars. We thought since it's a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars would make a lot more sense. So then let's take you back through the kitchen and into the back ensuite. So you've got your first floor bedroom, if that's important to you, to have a first floor. And then you've got your bathroom, full bath in there, and a walk-in closet. So for those that have mobility issues, or you want to get away from the kids when you're sleeping, that first floor option is certainly nice to have. Then let's go up the steps, and when we get to the top of the stairs, the first thing you're going to see is the flex space. So that can certainly be a home office, or if you've got kids, it can be a kids play area. And then you've got the two bedrooms and another full bath. So here you have the layout of the plan, and hopefully if that works for your family, then we'll go on to the next step and take a look at the lots and where they're located. Location. So I'm going to go ahead and let's pull up the survey so you can basically see how much acreage there is. So the addresses for the 2 lots, 1704 North English Station Road and 1706 North English Station Road. And as you can see, each lot has 0.23 acres. So, it's going to give you some room for a front and backyard, but it's not going to be onerous in terms of having to spend your weekends taking care of the yard. So if you want a large yard, this probably won't work for you. But if you like kind of what I'm calling the best of both worlds, this is 0.23. And next we're going to pull up something, a little map called, it's generated by the city through something called Logic. And I wanted to show you this so you could see that red arrow that runs in front of both of those lots. That's going to be the private road that we're putting in. And then the X there shows you that that's where the dead end is. North English used to route around and back out, but it's closed down. So we get that dead end perk to this. And then we're gonna look at kind of like the eagle eye view. So we'll start in what looks like, a lot of trees, and we do have a lot of trees here. So as you go up, you can see what I'm talking about. It's just outside of Anchorage and just before 265. But you can easily see it's highway access, not rush hour traffic times, but it takes me 20-25 minutes to get to downtown. I actually live in the neighborhood, so that's why I can say this. 15-20 minutes to get to most of the places on Shelbyville Road. We've also got really great local restaurants. Two of them, three restaurants that are really close by, just a couple miles. There's Mosa Pie, fantastic homemade pizza, and then you've got Village Anchor, and you've got the 1020 Craft Brew. It's a great place to hang out, especially when the weather's nice. So you've got that there. Then you've got your Middletown Kroger. You've also got your Publix, not too far away either. They're putting another Publix in, and you've got your Aldi. And then let's look at the map of Shelbyville Road. And as you can see, you've got your, all kinds of choices there. And that's probably 5-10 minutes from the lot. So I love living in the neighborhood because of it has that cozy feel with lots of old growth trees around, but also you're quick to any place you really want to be in town. Why SIPS? These are the top 3 reasons why I've selected it. Number 1, energy efficiency. You can expect to save 50% or more on your utility bills. Number 2, indoor air quality. You're going to have 15 times healthier air. You're going to be breathing in healthier air than a traditional code-built home. And then lastly, resilience. It's been tested in labs, reputable labs, to withstand 200 plus mile per hour winds, which is becoming increasingly important given our severe weather that we're experiencing. So those are the top 3 reasons, very high level. If you want to stick with me, I'm going to go through each one of those, not exhaustively, but I'm going to show you the research that I've looked into so that they can make these claims. So if you want to stay and keep going, next up will be a little deeper dive into why it's so energy efficient. Now we're into the deeper dive section. So thanks for sticking with me, and here we go. First thing we're going to talk about is we're going to do a deeper dive on the energy savings, and I'm going to get it's a deep dive, but it's still high level in terms of building science. So let's get up the first image here, and that's actually what a SIPS wall looks like. So here it is. We got it up here. So we've got the exterior sheathing and interior sheathing that looks like OSB. So instead of your individual frame, you're going to have this continuous OSB sheathing. And then in the middle, instead of having your fiberglass insulation, you've got hard form core. So that's what the actual section looks like. Now let's go on and look to what, let's bring up the stick frame versus the SIPS home. And as you can see, I mean, clearly it's a continuous wall and roof system, which makes it 15 times more airtight. Instead of having your construction framing and you create the 4x6, let's say, frame, and you put the insulation in there, you still are going to have some gaps and breaks. And so this is the secret sauce right here, is that continuous wall roof system, so that you have very few thermal breaks like you do in stick built. And then let's take a look at what actually on the job site, what the panel looks like. They're tipping it up. It typically takes less labor to put this together, and it goes together quicker. So that's kind of like an ancillary benefit. But this is what the panels look like. And then let's see, the other thing I want to show you, let's bring up the energy loss. So typically in a home, you're going to lose most of your energy through the roof. Through the roof. Money going out the door, 45%. And then your walls are 25%. So there's your biggest bang for your buck. And then floors, doors and draughts, and windows also produced energy loss, and they're each set at 10%. So what does this actually mean? What does it translate to? So if you look at the R value, and R value just translates to an energy number, and the building codes set what the minimum R values needs to be in certain aspects of the house. So if we're looking at just a built to code, your roof is going to have a basic requirement of an R38, and a SIPS has an R45 effective performance there. Walls, you've got a basic code of R13, and with SIPS you're going to have an R24 effective performance. And so that's almost double. Okay, so having your R value is all well and good, but how does that really translate, and how do I compare R values to know which ones are better? Well, there's an organization out there called Residential Energy Services Network, RESNET, and they set standards for how to go in and evaluate a house for looking for leaks. So they're in charge of setting the standards on how to train someone to do that, and those are called home energy raters. So they've come up with a system, I know all these acronyms, but they've come up with a system called the HERS Index Score Comparison. So let's get this image up so we can take a look at what this RESNET HERS rating system in general they've figured out in terms of the ranking. So let's get it up. A HERS Index Score Comparison. So the lower the score, the better. So in older resale homes, you're going to have a HERS score of 150. Then the new homes that were built to the 2006 codes, 130. And then Kentucky uses the 2009 codes. It was adopted in 2012, and that's 100. And then Energy Star certified homes are 85. Energy Star is the same as what you've heard for appliances and other equipment that has the Energy Star rating. They've got a whole section on Energy Star homes. And then homes built with SIPS are even below your Energy Star certified homes. And that's at 70. And then you've got your net zero ready homes, meaning that if you put solar on that home, it would be ready to be a net zero energy home. So that's the information that is in from an organizational standpoint. They've determined broad view. This is kind of how your construction stacks up. So the lower, the better. Let's look at how this translates. All this crazy energy talk translates into your pocketbook. So if we're doing an actual comparison between a code-built stick-framed house versus a SIPS home, and we just selected for easy math 2,000 square foot all electric home. Now this home that we're offering is the two homes that we're offering are 1,664 each in terms of square feet, so it'd be a little bit less. But let's look at code built home. Estimated monthly energy cost $192, annual $2,300, and a SIPS constructed home is going to run you about $96 and annually about $1,152. So quite literally almost half. And then if we look at in 5 years, what is that going to look like? Because let's say you don't want to stay in the house for 10, 20, 30 years. Let's say you just stay in it for 5 years. At the end of 5 years, your electric bill is going to cost you $11,520 in a code-built home. And in a SIPS home, it's going to be $5,760. Now, that's conservative because we are basing all these costs on the current per kilowatt average usage, which is 12 cents. LG&E charges 12 cents per kilowatt hour. And it's going to go up. I think this is 2025. I think they've already announced an 11% hike for next year. So conservatively, you can see that you can really put some money back in your pocket just based on the incredible value of the construction that the SIPS technology brings us. So there you have it. That's what's going to stay in your pocketbook. Now we're going to talk about indoor air quality, and IAQ is how it's referred to a lot of the times. And this was a big part of the green building movement that a lot of people don't know about. Mostly it's focused on the energy efficiency. But environmental indoor air quality is a huge consideration. So let's take a look at what really makes up so many of the pollutants that we breathe when we're in a house. So let's bring that graphic up. What are the culprits? So we do spend 90% of our time indoors, whether school, work, or home. And there's more pollution indoors than outdoors. And so what are the common ones? Airborne particles from diesel exhaust, dust, smoke, and other sources. We've got indoor formaldehyde. Now there's been a real focus on that. Before, it was really tough to find furniture, cabinetry without the addition of formaldehyde. But now, since there has been such a movement on indoor air quality, it's much easier to find. But you have to be conscious of it. You've got to seek it out and make sure. And then you have the household odors and gases, such as painting, cooking, smoking, ozone from outdoor air. The ground level ozone is also harmful to breathe. And then carbon dioxide. I mean, believe it or not, us exhaling is something, and cooking. So those are the major culprits of indoor air quality. And let's put up the next graphic, which is going to show you. Remember when I said back when we were looking at the leaky sieve part of a house, and there's lots more to it. Here's a little more in-depth look that when you're constructing a house, the roof was the most energy in terms of energy loss, which means the most in terms of leaks, and walls and then the three that made up the rest of the culprits. So here you've got, some more technical terms about where you're gonna get that airflow into the house and out of the house, and you don't want it going out unless you control that air. So the air tightness of the house is also going to increase your air quality. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that we'll go back to talking. When you have a really tight house, meaning you don't have a leaky sieve house, you've got to get the air out, the old air out and in with the new. So typically with these kind of houses, you have something called an energy recovery ventilator. I don't know why they call it an energy, because what it's really doing is bringing in outside air, passing it through a high grade filter, and then pumping the fresh air in and taking the old expelled air and pushing it to the outside. So you're constantly breathing in cleaner air. And so that's another crucial piece to it. So helps with allergies. A lot of people have reported they sleep better with a higher indoor air quality. So it's an important component not to overlook, and SIPS provides that. So as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and let's take a look at a SIPS home that stood a hurricane in 1995. And here it is. The home that's standing is SIPS. It was built in the Florida Gulf, and it survived Hurricane Opal in 1995. So picture's worth 1,000 words, and that says it all. But when I went to check the data and the information, I wanted to know which organizations that were reputable actually did these tests. And so the test for the wind resistance, it says it withstands 200 plus mile per hour winds. That's an EF4, F5 strength. That was done by the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety, and it was a full-scale wind and debris impact. Because the other thing they've tested is the impact resistance from windborne debris, that you get in hurricanes and tornadoes. They also researched the fire performance. It's got a 1 hour fire rating that's common. Of course, we talked about the air tightness and all the benefits of that. So these SIPS panels have been have been tested a lot. So it's not only the Insurance Institute, but FEMA has also done one, Home Builders Guide to Coastal Construction. The National Association of Home Builders has a research center. They've done the SIPS, structural performance testing, and the Engineer Wood Association, SIPS panel load testing reports. So those were some of the reports that I came across. But like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So here is the benefit of the resiliency building with SIPS. So one last perk with SIPS construction, and that's timeline and how quickly they can get built. So since you've got the walls and the roof system being constructed under roof in a factory, we can be building the crawl space, because as it's priced on a crawl. It can go over a basement, but we've offered it at this price with a crawl space. So you're doing both at the same time. So, traditional construction is very linear, crawl, frame, insulation, all that stuff, drywall. So you get the benefit of speed of construction. So what Fisher SIPS has told us is that once the order is placed and ready to go, it takes about 8 weeks to finish up. So it's a dramatically shortened construction time. So the rendering that I showed you on the lot that I showed you with the enormous benefits of SIPS construction and speed of construction, I hope you'll consider the offering and give me a call, send me a text, or send me an email, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Have a good one.